Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 5 mistakes that are costing you games right now and how you can fix them. And yeah, these are personal mistakes I've made too. Let's jump into it. So to start things off with my first mistake, well, I'm going to use Ristic Study as just an example, but the mistake is called allowing the snowball. Basically allowing one player to get out of control and so far ahead of everyone else that, well, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. And again, Ristic Study is a good example for this because it is one of the most powerful cards in Commander, even considered by some to be ban-worthy, but since it's not banned, you gotta kind of know how to deal with it outside of just, oh, I happen to have removal for it. Which, yes, you need to play removal, obviously, but if this is on the field, no one's got removal for it, what do you do? This is a card that obviously can take over the game. It is one of the, quote-unquote game changers, according to Wizards, one of the 40 cards on that list. And also, again, it is a card that is one of the most played cards in Commander, even though it commands an absurdly high price tag. Here's the thing. It's an enchantment for 3 mana in blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. When you break this card down, it's actually quite simple. You, well, kind of play into human nature with this card where, yeah, humans in general tend to be, well, thinking of themselves first sometimes and maybe a little bit greedy sometimes as well. So here's the thing where you allow the snowball with this one, not paying the 1. Choosing not to pay the 1. This is a card where it gives an option. If this didn't give an option, if this was just an enchantment for 3 mana that said, hey, your opponent's spells cost 1 more to cast, it would, do kind of the same thing. Again, if everyone just decided at the table, hey, we're always going to pay the 1, all right? We're not going to let that player get ahead of us, all right? We're not going to let them get ahead of us when it comes to card advantage. Yes, technically, then they're at a slight mana advantage, but yeah, I would rather be down 1 mana to a player than down like 18 cards to a player because they just keep drawing the card. The problem with this is, again, when one player decides, well, actually, my plan for the turn, I needed the extra mana for this. Actually, I can't pay it for this one, but I'll pay it next time, I promise. Then the other players don't do it either, and it allows the snowball to happen. So when this card is in play, I want you and the other players at the table to picture something like this instead. Picture Spell-Tithe Enforcer. This is a card that is very similar to Ristic Study, but kind of opposite in a way too. It's a 3/3 Elephant Wizard for 5 mana. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player sacrifices a permanent unless they pay 1. It's kind of similar, but again, it kind of turns it on its head where, again, not paying the 1 isn't hurting you, technically, right? It isn't actually hurting you for Ristic Study. It is hurting you for Spell-Tithe Enforcer. You're giving someone else something by not paying the 1 with Ristic Study. This one, you are losing something. So players, when this card is in play, are more likely to pay that because, well, they don't want to lose one of their things. Unless they have, a vast swath of things in play and things that they're okay with sacrificing, like tokens or whatnot. But basically, again, it turns it on its head where, yeah, okay, well, this affects me now if I don't pay. Versus like, oh, well, don't worry about it. It's just giving that player a card. It's not that big of a deal. Here's the thing with the Ristic Study. Yeah, there's a reason why it's one of the most played cards of all time in Commander, why it's so expensive, and why it's a game changer. It is a big deal. Pay your taxes, okay? You're allowing the snowball. I mean, here's another one like, Chancellor of the Annex. Again, there's only so many Staxy effects essentially out there when it comes to like similar ones that just like add an additional 1 mana. But yeah, this one just a very straight up one. It's 5/6 Angel, 4/7 mana. You can reveal the opening hand, which is kind of obnoxious. Anyways, whenever an opponent casts a spell, counterless, that player pays 1. This, again, is something that directly affects that player. Again, it says, you know what? You can technically choose not to pay the 1, but then why did you cast the spell in the first place? It just basically adds that extra taxing effect. And if you just picture this instead of Ristic Study, if you picture Chancellor of the Annex, if you picture Spell-Tithe Enforcer, when that's in play, literally the game is going to go better for you and the other opponents of the card of Ristic Study. If everyone just said, you know what, pretend it's Chancellor of the Annex, you would do better in that game against the player played Ristic Study because you'd be like, oh, I'll pay the taxes because I have to pay the taxes. When you choose not to with Ristic Study, and yes, there are certain circumstances where literally if you're like, oh, well, I need to like destroy, like I need to like cast like a mass board wipe like Austere Command, which we'll do with Ristic Study, but I don't have 7 mana, I've got 6. Sure, in that case, give up the one card because you're getting rid of Ristic Study, you're getting rid of the problem, but still, literally just picture this instead, okay? When it's in play, you have to pay your taxes. If you don't, you are allowing the snowball, and you need to convince your opponents to do so as well. You need to be convincing. Show them this episode or something to convince them to say, pay the taxes. Don't let the Ristic Study player get so far ahead, because they will. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Picture this in play. Again, it's more specific, but still, non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. There is no option for that. There's no, oh yeah, I don't have to pay it, and you just get a benefit for it. There's no option for that. It's just you have to pay it. So just picture something else in play and say, oh yeah, Ristic Study literally isn't all that good of a card if it's just an enchantment that says your opponent's spells cost 1 more to cast. Yeah, that's annoying. It's still decent, but it's nowhere near as powerful as draw a card every single time your opponents cast a spell. You basically allow them to kind of get away with, playing like a trade secrets without anyone else getting any value out of it when they have a Ristic Study out there and players aren't paying for it because they're getting absurd amounts of card advantage. Obviously, this card is banned. Target opponent draws 2 cards and you draw up to 4 cards, then repeat the process. It's banned for a reason. I'm just giving you as example as like a 3 mana, draw an absurd amount of cards card, which Ristic Study obviously is, because players don't pay their taxes, because they don't see it as a downside to them, because they see it as, hey, oh, well, I don't have to pay the 1, or my plan for this turn's going to get messed up. Oh, no. Pay it. If you don't pay it, that player is just going to win the game. So please pay your taxes, convince others to pay taxes, and again, just picture other cards in place of this. If this was Chancellor of the Annex in play, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to pay. Just pay it, because Ristic Study and cards like it that snowball, if you don't stop the snowball, you're going to lose the game. Next up, let's talk about overcommitting to the board early. And a card that I'm going to give an example of this is, well, one of the most, if not the most popular finisher in Commander. And yeah, I think on a previous episode I kind of mentioned this as well. And someone's like, that's Oracle. It's like, okay, in Commander, not in CDH, okay? 5/5 Beast with haste for 8 mana in total in green. When it enters, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X to after X number of creatures you control. Basically, with this one, it's like, hey, okay, go incredibly wide, get this into play, you swing, you win. Here's the problem. Sometimes when you go incredibly wide, well, you might just kind of utilize, well, like, all your cards, and you, like, don't have any cards in your hand then, and you just kind of, like, overcommitted to the board. And if you don't have, again, say, a finisher like this in hand, or even if you do, but you don't have enough damage to take out, like, all the players, or even just, like, 2 players, or maybe even just even 1 player, and you just go for it, then you kind of overcommitted, and at that point, you really can get blown out too easily. So overcommitting early, and I would say kind of doing so without a protective spell ready, essentially. Going all in and not making it, you're going to be, well, number one, the, arch enemy first off, which you're going to get everyone's removal and everyone's, wrath essentially utilized on your board state, versus waiting maybe a little bit, being a bit more patient, not being the first major target for everything, and being able to then go in and clean up afterwards. Now, of course, there are aggressive strategies out there, but yeah, if you are going to be overcommitting early, make sure you do so with protection ready so you can actually be able to keep your board out there, or just make it so that you're not arch enemy first. Being not arch enemy first is a really, really, really key component to winning a Commander game for the most part. Again, I would say like CDH might be a bit differently, but actually in some ways it's the same, because if you try to combo off right away, you might get everyone's counter spells on your stuff, and the second player could probably win the game. So that's also probably true there too. That being said, yeah, again, overcommit early, but make sure you have backup options. Like, okay, cool, like I've got a giant board set, I've got so many creatures in play, awesome, I've got my Jet Mirror deck with so many creatures on the board. Make sure you have, again, a heroic intervention essentially ready to go. This one is an expensive card. I'll give more budget-friendly versions. But yeah, basically 2 mana, protect all your things. Permanents you control gain Hexproof, Indestructible until end of turn. You might have overcommitted to the board, but you have a plan. You've got a, oh, okay, well, I am committed. But yeah, I've got a way to protect my board to ensure that they stay around. Dawn's Truce, basically the exact same thing in a way. This one is also at $8 or $7 or so. So yeah, maybe some more budget-friendly ones here coming up in just a little bit. Instant for 2 mana, gift a card. You and permanents you control gain Hexproof until end of turn. If you promise the gift, permanents you control also gain Indestructible as well. Yeah, you're going to gift the card. It's well worth it to protect your entire team. When it comes to that, though, we got even a more recent one with Duty Beyond Death. Sacrifice a creature. Creatures you control gain Indestructible until end of turn. Put a counter on each creature you control. Yeah, getting rid of one creature to save your entire board is well worth it. In fact, there are certain decks out there that even want to sacrifice creatures. It's a great brand new card. Make sure you go pick this one up. But yeah, again, being able to just have a 2-mana, okay, I save my board, can make it so that, oh, you're not just sitting around just top decking after you just dedicated everything to your board too early. One Wrath happened, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll just sit here and lose the game. Yeah. How about one that already stays in play, like a Selfless Spirit, a 2/1 Spirit Cleric with flying for 2 mana, sacrifice it, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. This is one where, again, it helps you with your go wide strategy already. It is a creature that helps you. You know, it's already in play, it's got flying, it's evasive, that's nice, but also, you can freely sacrifice it whenever you need to. You don't need mana to do so, so get it in play, sacrifice it. Have those plans ready. Rapid Vigor, even this one, needs to see more play. It's a fantastic card, instant for 2 mana in green. Regenerate each creature you control. That is absolutely huge to save your entire team. I mean, at 3 mana as well, like more specific decks like Inspiring Call, draw a card for each creature control they counter on it. They gain indestructible until end of turn. An amazing card in counters decks, obviously. Rootborn Defenses, Populate, creatures you control indestructible this turn. Again, in a go wide type strategy, you're already going to be having creature tokens most likely. This gives you extra ones. That's quite nice. Plus, yeah, save your entire team. Make sure you are ready. Unbreakable Formation. Makes your creatures indestructible. You can also utilize it to pump them, get a counter on each of them, and give them vigilance if you cast it during your main phase. So again, either way to protect your team, or a way to protect them in combat and actually pump them in combat as well, or a flexible one like your temple is under attack. Creatures control get indestructible until end of turn. You and target opponent each draw 2 cards. Again, flexible. You can utilize that however you need to. And one more thing real quick, okay, in black as well, Dark Dabbling. Regenerate target creature, draw a card if you've got Spell Mastery, which is super easy to get to. Regenerate all of your creatures in as well. Or Wail the Nymph, regenerate all your creatures, or 1 damage each creature in each player by entwining it as well. Again, have backup plans for this. And obviously, if you're in blue, negate. There you go. Counter target non-creature spell. You got ways to do it, all right? What you need to do, again, is make sure that, again, when it comes to overcommitting, don't do it unless you've got, a plan where you are ready to go, where you can respond, where you can protect your board situation, where you can make certain that you are going to be coming out on top. Or, again, just wait. Be patient. Don't be that arch enemy. I'm not saying just completely sit back the entire game. There are certain strategies that do that. But don't become the arch enemy so quickly that everyone just utilizes all of their disruption on you, and then player number 2 who decides oh, I'm just gonna wait a little bit and then get in there and then I win. So yeah, just have a little bit of patience, and if not, have a plan ready to go to protect your board state. Okay, this next one I'm calling not sticking to a decision, and the example I'm going to be giving is with Voltron decks, and this might be a bit unfair because, yes, I understand it is a feel-bad. It is most definitely a feel-bad. I would say that it's not really an actual unwritten rule of Commander that you don't take someone out early, but there are definitely some playgroups out there that might have that, opinion, and that's completely fine too. I guess it depends more on your playgroup, but if you're in a Voltron deck, you need to stick to one player. You really just need to pick one player and go after them, one at a time. You need to stick to that decision. And again, this is just an example of sticking to a decision, but, obviously with other examples as well. But the Voltron one, I think, is very apparent, where if I've got Zurgo Helm Smasher, which has 7 power, it's a 7/2 hasty Orc Warrior for 5 mana in Mardu, attacks each combat of Fable, has indestructible as long as it's your turn. Whenever a creature dealt damage by it dies, you get a counter on it. Cool. Basically, it's a Voltron Commander because it protects itself, and also it's got 1/3 of the damage needed to take an opponent out with commander damage. It's super easy to do that. You also have other ways to maybe even pump it further, make it deal double damage, etc., etc. But yeah, here's the thing. If you're not taking someone out with a one-shot KO, and you start hitting them with damage, again, let's say, I get this out quickly, I hit a player for 7, stick to that player. You need to stick to that player. Again, yes, it's a feel-bad for knocking someone out early. That being said, Voltron decks work a lot better when you hyper-focus players and take them out. When it comes to evaluating who you're actually going to take out first, it might not necessarily be obvious because, again, maybe everyone's kind of at a similar position board state-wise, and there's no, giant threat out there, essentially. It might just be literally whoever you can get through on, which is kind of unfortunate, but you know what? It is what it is when it comes to you trying to actually win the game. If you are trying to win with a Voltron strategy, you're already kind of playing at a little bit of a disadvantage just compared to some other strategies. So, yeah, you need to, once you lock onto one player, once you've got that commander damage assigned to them, you need to stick to them. Unless, of course, you like turn the commander to a one-shot KO, can just take anyone out, then yeah, that's a bit different. But still, I've had this problem with myself with my Nezahal deck. Nezahal Primal Tide, I love Nezahal. This was my very first episode on the channel. Actually, make sure you go check that out. I love my deck. A 7/7 Elder Dinosaur for 7 mana in blue. Can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card. Discard 3 cards. Basically, blink it. It comes back at the end step. Essentially, this is a weird pick for a Voltron commander, but I love it. It is an absurd draw engine. And yeah, again, it is something that can protect itself very easily. And yes, it is 1/3 of the commander damage needed again at 7 power. So my problem with this one is I am a player. I like to essentially make sure everyone's having a good time, which is very crucial in Commander, obviously. And I am definitely guilty of sometimes making the wrong decision when it comes to attacking. Like, okay, yeah, I pick one player, and sometimes I'll just roll dice, which I don't recommend doing. You should probably actually think through which player makes the most sense to take out. Again, either if they are, well, wide open and no one else is wide open, you can actually get damage on them, or again, they're the biggest threat, or they are your perceived biggest threat based on their commander and their, perceived strategy. And I've definitely been like, oh, okay, well, I hit that player, but I feel bad because it's like, I'm at year 14 already now, commander damage, and we're only like a couple turns in, and I don't want to take you out just yet, so I'm going to switch to someone else. And then that player, almost always, who has the 14 damage on them that I then ignore for a long time because I don't want to take them out too early, is the one who ends up coming back, destroying the board, essentially, and just taking over and winning the game, because then I switched over to the other players when I probably shouldn't have. Alec is great with this, with the Hogak deck. 8/8 Avatar for 7 mana and Golgari. If you haven't seen this deck yet, make sure you check out the, absolutely absurdity that is the Hogak deck. This is a very spicy deck. You can't spend mana to cast a spell, Convoke Delve. You can cast from your graveyard, and it's got Trample. Yeah, Alec is an absolute genius when it comes to deck building with this. And, being able to get Hogak out on turn 1 or 2 is absurd, but yes, it can happen. And when that happens, your opponents don't have any defenses up, really. So yeah, once Alec picks a player to stick to, again, it might even be random because maybe no one's got anything up, essentially, again, especially if it's a turn 2 Hogak swinging, then all of a sudden, yeah, you need to stick to that player because this is your game plan. Spreading out the damage is worse for you for a Voltron strategy. You just don't do it because, again, you're kind of letting players off the hook, and when you do, there are more threats out there for you. If you take out one player, that is a lot less threats for you. Again, that's less players who have access to Swords to Plowshares, or Toxic Deluge, or Wrath of God, or simply Counterspell. Again, being able to essentially say, all right, I have 3 opponents, and the chances of them having removal or having ways to stop me is higher. If I go down to 2 opponents, that is a lot less likely that there are more removal. And if I go down to 1 opponent, yeah, it's a 1-on-1, and I can probably win that with a Voltron commander once I'm set up properly. But if I keep the 3 opponents out there again, that's extra turns that I cannot control. That is extra turns that have chances again at getting those removal spells that can stop me. So yeah, it might feel bad, but again, unless you literally have like Fire Shrieker and damage doublers and can one-shot someone, if you've got a Voltron deck and you have been losing a lot of games and you're like, how can I win more games? The sad truth is that you're not sticking to your decision, and maybe you're being a bit too nice like I am too when it comes to my Nezahal deck, and after you hit a player, you maybe switch to someone else. Or once they get to 14 or whatever, or it's only one more shot and they're going to be taken out, you switch to someone else. And I'm telling you, don't. Make sure you stick to your decisions, because when you don't, you lose more games. Because that player that you had on the ropes and you should have taken out is usually the one to come back and win the game. Next up, this one I am calling refusing to politic. I mean, just straight out refusing to politic. I've had players do this before, and I would recommend not doing that. Commander is a multiplayer format for a reason. Yeah, in a standard game, in a one-on-one, yeah, you can't politic. You can't be like, hey, if you don't attack me, I won't take out your creature. And they're like, we don't, no, there's no reason to politic. This is a one-on-one. In Commander, there are a lot of different aspects to the game because it is multiplayer. And because of that, there are politics that happen within any kind of a Commander game, especially when certain cards, like, say, a Humble Defector, gets played. If you choose not to politic, you are going to get left behind, and other players are going to get advantages that you don't have. That's just kind of how the game's going to go. A 2/1 Human Rogue for 2 mana in red, one of Eddie's favorite cards. Tap, draw 2 cards. Target opponent gains control of Humble Defector. Activate this ability only during your turn. This is a card that the player who plays it has a plan with it. They are going to draw the 2 cards, and they're going to make a deal with another opponent to most likely just say, like, usually the deal's like, okay, I give this to you. You use it on your next turn when you can. You give it back. Okay. One opponent is going to make that deal. It is going to happen no matter what, essentially. And so, yeah, you're just going to either get left behind or you're going to politic and work with that player to be the one to actually get those benefits. And again, this is not like one of the highest played cards of all time, but let's talk about some cards that might be played even more than this, where there are some political aspects in that you might not realize. Curse of Opulence. This one can happen right away. It's an aura curse for a single red mana enchant player. Enchant player's attack, create a gold token. Each attack of the player does the same. Here's the thing. You, if you are, and sometimes it's impossible depending on what kind of a commander you have, if the other player knows your deck entirely and it's like, yeah, you're going to be the biggest threat. If this is coming down, you need to try to convince that player that is potentially targeting you with it to not do that. You need to politic. You can't just be like, yeah, whatever, okay, I don't care, yeah. This is the kind of card where it makes you a magnet for attacks, and obviously you don't get any benefits from it either. You are not getting any gold because you can't attack yourself. Not that you necessarily would, maybe you would. But again, your opponents are incentivized to attack you, and it's hard to say, well, don't do that if, well, you're a target like this and they want some extra mana, they're going to do that. Or how about Sylvan Offering? Just a card that is a straight up fun card when it comes to like token, decks and stuff like that, like going wide decks. Search for X and a green, choose an opponent, you and that player each make an XX tree folk, choose an opponent, you and that player each create an XX or X11 green elf creature tokens. Basically, you make one big thing and a lot of small things, and yeah, hey, that player's going to cast it regardless. They're not going to be like, well, I couldn't make a deal with anyone, so I'm not casting my Sylvan Offering. No, they're going to cast it, and they're going to say, okay, who wants these things? Who wants the elves? Who wants the tree folk? Make a deal with me. And the deal might be as simple as, I'm giving you these free creatures. Here's the thing. You can't attack me with them. And maybe you set like a term limit to that, like until we're in a one-on-one scenario or whatever it is. But yeah, you need to be the player that can make a deal with that player, because if you don't, someone else will, and guess what? Now that other player also has a massive army as well that they then have to use against you and the other opponent as well, because, yeah, that player made a deal that they can't attack the player who cast this card. So you are at a disadvantage and then some for this player casting it. How about a card like Jailbreak, a newer card that, I mean, I guess it's not that much newer, but still, it's a cool card. Sorcerer 2 mana, return target permanent card in opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control. That permanent enters the battlefield. Return to one target permanent card equal or lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. This player who is casting this is getting a cheap reanimation spell basically for one of their things in exchange of, again, giving someone else back one of their things from their graveyard too. So you need to be the player who convinces them that, hey, okay, yeah, like I, get this thing back. I won't utilize it against you for 3 turns or whatever it is. Don't just let someone else get something massive back and then agree to not utilize it again against the opponent who casts this spell, because now they're going to utilize that against you. There is no escaping politics in Commander. There really isn't. And again, if you are choosing not to politic, you are going to lose more games. Long River's Pull, something as simple as this, a great card. Instant for blue, gift a card, counter target creature spell. To give this promise, instead counter target spell. Basically a kind of counter spell, but with gifting a card away. Yeah, the player who's countering that spell, yeah, they're probably not going to gift the card to the player whose spell they countered, but there are usually 2 other opponents, right? You want to be the opponent that gets the card. You want to get a slight advantage. Again, make a deal. Say, okay, I won't attack you next turn if you give me that card, if that's actually, a good idea. But you want to be able to make that deal, get that slight incremental advantage, because those slight incremental advantages, they build up. Card like Witchclaw Talisman. Enters battlefield with 3 wish counters on it. Pay 1 tap, remove a wish counter from it. Go get a card, put in your hand, then shuffle. And then they have to give it to an opponent. Activate only during your turn. So that player that has this is going to be getting, most likely, 2 tutors out of it. Because again, like Humble Defector, they're going to make a deal and say, hey, I give this to you. You activate it next turn, tutor for whatever you want, and you give it back to me. Here's the thing with this one, though, when it comes to, like, combos, you need to, like, okay, like, you're not getting a 2-card combo, and you need to convince all the other opponents of this player to not agree to that either, because unless you go get, like, removal for that, then, yeah, that player just wins the game, and you just handed them it. That being said, again, you want to be the player when it makes sense to actually say, sure, yeah, I'll take a, like, 1 mana tutor for whatever I want kind of card by giving you this back, and you're already going to get that deal done with another player. I might as well be the one. Duelist Heritage, a card like this. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. Yeah, the player who has this probably wants to give double strike to a creature. Give them a reason to do so when you're attacking someone else. Again, if the decision is split, do I attack the player that has Duelist Heritage or another player, and it's pretty similar, attack the other player and get the double strike and deal double up the damage. Lord of the Third Path. Basically, Rex Age Plus enters the battlefield to destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment. On top of that, tap, you and target opponent each draw a card. The player who has this is going to activate it. They are going to be drawing cards with it. Be sure that you're the player that's making the deal with them. Again, not like just giving them the farm and giving them everything, and saying like, I'll never attack you again. No, make a reasonable deal with them where you are getting that card advantage as well. They're going to be doing it anyways. Skullwinder, Eternal Witness, but for 2 players, basically. Yeah, make it so that you are the target. Like, okay, yeah, don't be like, so like, it has to be this card, or, I'm not agreeing to it. No, like, unless it's a one-on-one scenario and you just have that ability to make that decision, you need to be like, okay, I'm fine, getting back, whatever you say up to I can get back. I'd appreciate if you let me get this. If you let me get this, I'll do this for you. Make a deal. Just make a deal. Politic with that player. I guess I should say what this does again. Enters the battlefield, you get a card back, an opponent gets a card back. Good for you. And again, it says that a player returns a card from their graveyard to their hand. Again, the technically it is your choice, but again, that player's just going to choose another player if you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this back. You're like, no, you can't get your Wrath of God back because I don't want you wrathing the board. So they'll pick someone else instead. Make a deal. Victory Chimes. Something like this can even be a politic card. It untaps during each player's untap step. Tap a player your choice, adds colorless. This is a card where if that player doesn't need that mana on their turn, essentially, or on your turn, and they can utilize this, you can be like, hey, I just need one more mana to do this one thing. If you do that for me, if you just give me that mana because you don't need it right now, potentially, yeah, I won't attack you this turn, or something like that. Or I'll attack that player. I'll attack whoever you want. Or, again, like, hey, yeah, I'll give you protection for a turn. I won't counter your spell for a turn. Whatever it is, if you need that extra mana, make a deal. There's things out there you don't even realize you can make a deal with, and you can. Baleful Master, again, a very simple one, kind of like a gift is promised. Basically, they can pay 2 to exile a creature. If they do, an opponent gets a card, make sure you're the one who gets the card. Unless, they're targeting your creature. The pro not going to give that to you as well, because you already got upset from them. Replication Technique. Demonstrate type cards as well. Create a token's copy of target permanent you control. Demonstrate means when you cast a spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. Players may choose new targets for their copies. Again, it doesn't matter what you are getting. The player who is doing this, okay, is going to copy it. That's why they have it in the deck most of the time, right? They are going to copy it, so they are going to choose one of their opponents. They could just choose the opponent who has, like, the least threatening things on the board, but you also could be like, hey, all right, if you choose me, I'll even just choose a land. Like, just whatever deal you have to make to make sure that you're getting the value versus an opponent getting a value, you are making sure that, well, not only do you get, say, again, an extra land or whatever it is, and again, maybe you can make the deal. It's like, hey, let me copy my best creature, and I won't ever use this copy against you, okay? I can't swing at you, but I can use it against the other opponents. Because, again, you are going up, and the other opponents that you have that didn't cast this card are not getting extra value against you, too. So, again, at the end of the day, Humble Defector is just one, example of this, but you need to politic. You cannot refuse to politic and survive in Commander unless you are literally playing, like, again, like, CDH. I'm sure there's some politic in CDH too, but like, you can't just refuse to politic and expect to win a lot of games because, yeah, other players are going to get extra advantages over you just naturally throughout the game, and you're just going to have your hands over your chest just crossing. You're like, this isn't fair. Everyone's making deals, and I'm not part of the deals. Start being part of the deals because it's going to benefit you. Finally, let's talk about, well, not having a backup plan. And I'm very guilty of this. I definitely have built decks where, well, they could have been improved a little bit, and actually did improve this one specifically, but Villainous Wealth, one of my favorite cards of all time, a sorcery for X and 3 mana in Sultai. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. You may cast any number of spells of mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. Here's the thing. My very first iteration of this deck was not, the best because, well, the entire premise of the deck is go get Villainous Wealth, that's my only win condition, and just cast it for a ton. And if it got stopped, okay, well, that was kind of the deck. All right, that was it. It was all in on one thing. I had no backup plan, and when you have no backup plan when it comes to win conditions, you just kind of sit there and you lose the game if it doesn't work out. So, when it comes to this and making a change to this, essentially, right, and making a new build around this card, I had a lot of backup plans. I learned from my mistakes, and I said, you know what? I still want the main win condition to be Villainous Wealth, all right? I have other ones, all right? But to make Villainous Wealth a hardier win condition, a win condition that can survive better, and a win condition that is so much harder to stop, I'm utilizing a bunch of cards like Galvanic Iteration. When you cast your next instant or short spell this turn, copy it, choose new targets for the copy, and you can flash it back as well. Or how about Repeated Reverberation? When you cast an instant or sorcery spell or activate a loyalty ability, copy it twice, essentially. You get new targets for the copy. Basically, I made it so that, hey, okay, I'm casting Villainous Wealth still for a good amount in that X, right? I'm casting it for a ton. I'm ramping absurd amounts as well. And of course, these copy spells can help you with ramping too. I am ramping an absurd amount, and then I'm putting a decent amount into that X. I'm not putting like 20 mana into that X like I previously was with my previous build. I'm putting more so like 7, 8, 9 into that X, and then I am copying it a lot of times. I'm getting the same or even better results, actually, because multiplying it really helps a lot, essentially, and it can scale a lot better. And I'm able to then target multiple opponents with it too, which can be quite fun. Or just even still hyper-target the same player and get even more off the top of their library, all while making this so much harder to stop. Because now instead of them having to counter just one Villainous Wealth, you need to counter multiple spells and multiple copies potentially, and they're not going to be able to do that. Again, they might be prepared with one counter spell, maybe 2 counter spells, but I highly doubt they've got like 8 counter spells ready to go, and they need to have that because, again, I think my record for this one was like X equals 9, and then I multiplied it by 6 or 7, I believe. But yeah, being able to copy this an absurd amount of times is really hard to stop. Already having in play things like Swarm Intelligence, again, cast instant or short spell, copy it, choose targets to the copy. Yeah, you get extra copies now of your copy spells and also of your Villainous Wealth too, so that really multiplies things. Of course, Thousand Year Storm now finally budget friendly. Enchantment for 6 mana, and is it? But if you cast an instant or short spell, copied for each other instant or spell you've cast before this turn, choose targets of the copies. Again, when you're casting spell for spell for spell for spell, copying all of them and all of a sudden having X equals, 20 essentially, or I mean, the number of Villainous Wealths, I should say, being 20 with all the copies. And then you've got, 6 into the X. You're like, oh yeah, cool. I get an absurd amount of that. It's going to be basically impossible to stop unless an opponent has a very specific counterspell. It's like counter everything on the stack, which they might, but maybe even then it might not matter because you might have, oh yeah, I saved this one, extra reverberate type effect, copy again, and it gets copied so many times. Also though, on top of Villainous Wealth being a win condition, again, let's say that one gets exiled from my library somehow or whatnot. Have backup plans to that as well. Not just, again, okay, I've got the backups where I can copy it a certain amount of times. Have other plans, like Fevered Suspicion. This card is very fun. Each opponent exiles cards to the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards without paying their mana cost, and it rebounds as well, so you get to cast again for free on the next turn. Again, it works somewhat similar to Villainous Wealth. It's not the exact same thing, but it is a game-ending card, and when you can copy it an absurd amount of times, yeah, you're going to steal a bunch of things and probably win the game from there. Or just very simple, very effective. Treacherous Terrain. Deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of lands that player controls, and it's got basic land cycling. So, yeah, early on, it is not useless. You just basically go, oh yeah, I need a land. Cool. All right, I'll cycle it away. It's in my Joda deck, so like it is, 5-color deck as well, which really helps with mana fixing. And then essentially, if you need it late game, I finished off so many games with this card as well. Players are like, oh, I didn't even know that card existed. Yeah, it's a great, just miscellaneous finisher for the deck, especially again when you've got so many ways to copy it. You're going to take your opponents out very easily with this if you didn't get to do it with Villainous Wealth. So yeah, again, like you've got obviously like tutors as well to make sure you actually get to the card like Invert Invent. Go search up a sorcery or instant, both if you want to. Overall, though, make sure you have a backup plan. Don't just have, again, just one plan where you're like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm going to make it work, and it's going to go really well. I'm definitely guilty of this in some ways, though. Like, obviously, my initial iteration of Villainous Wealth, and also, my Lich's Mastery deck, where, like, the entire build is around just getting Lich's Mastery in play, essentially, and doing some really weird things with it. But, if that fails, though, if you can't tutor for Lich's Mastery, if you can't get it out, you just lose. I mean, actually, if Lich's Mastery gets removed too, it loses too. But yeah, Glass Cannon decks can be fun, but make sure you have maybe more than one win condition, more than one way to win, or again, I guess I should say, a really good way to protect that win condition to make it so that it's harder to stop. Because, yeah, essentially, whenever I've cast Villainous Wealth now, and I am set up properly, and I have ways to copy it, I've never lost. I have never lost when that happens because it's like, oh yeah, okay, I just get all the things off the top of the library, and typically you'll hit miscellaneous things that actually work together, and you're just like, oh, yeah, Ogre Battle Driver in play now. Okay, all my things I just stole got haste. I've got this giant army, and Warstorm Surge in play too. Okay, cool, all that damage. and I win. So yeah, being able to just win, essentially, with that, because it's so hard to stop, make your win conditions hardier, make them hard to stop, make sure you have backup plans, that you're not just, okay, I've got this one win condition, if I don't get that, then I lose the game. Have backup plans. Okay, to wrap things up and to summarize things, number one, don't allow a snowball. Do not let one player just get so far ahead when there is an easy way to prevent it. Again, Ristic Study being a good example. Just picture Chancellor of the Annex. Picture Spell Type Enforcer in play. Pay your taxes. Convince the other opponents to pay their taxes as well, because if you don't, the player that has Ristic Study is going to win the game because they're going to have an absurd amount of card advantage. Again, they basically just played trade secrets in a game where it's banned. Or how about overcommitting early again? If you are going to overcommit early, you are going to become the arch enemy. And if you do so, you better be able to back it up. You better be able to finish everyone off quickly, and you better be able to have, again, that plan to have, okay, I've got protection spells, I've got ways to save my board, to keep my board intact, so I'm not just, okay, everything out, I've got no hand, and all of a sudden, a board wipe happens, I'm not prepared, and I just lose because now I'm just top decking, and everyone else is playing because they actually have cards still, and I don't. Not sticking to a decision. Again, this one's very apparent with Voltron strategies, and I am definitely guilty of it as well, because it is kind of a feel bad when you take a player out early, but that's just kind of the reality of a Voltron deck. If you're going to play a Voltron deck and you want to win more games, you need to hyper-focus players. Determine, even if, like, let's say everything is even, right? Everyone is open, you can get through on anyone, no one else has a commanding board state, essentially. Even in that case, either determine who the most threatening commander is, or the most threatening just general strategy that they might be playing based on their color combination. If they've got control type colors, blue, white, black, you probably want to take them out first because, yeah, they're probably your biggest enemy when it comes to you playing a Voltron-style deck because they have board wipes, they got counter spells, they got removal. You probably want to take them out first. So fair or unfair, if they're playing against, say, an Esper deck, you might want to hyper-focus them first. And then once you hit someone, again, stick to them. Because, again, the player that you get to 14 damage, you're like, well, it's just going to be one more shot, but I don't want to take you out right now. So I'm going to take out those other players. Yeah, when that happens, then that player that's got the 14 damage, once you switch your focus, they're going to be the one that comes up from behind and takes everyone else out and wins because you changed your focus. You made it so the other players had to focus on you, and all of a sudden, they are the ones that come back and win. Refusing to politic, again, Humble Defector as an example, it is unavoidable to politic in a game of Commander, in a game of casual Commander, I should say. These cards just exist. They are out there, and just miscellaneous scenarios happens where it's like, okay, early on, like, who do I attack? Who should I attack? Even the Voltron player, again, literally just talking about that Voltron player, convince them not to hit you. You need to politic if you want to win more games, and you can't just ignore these types of cards that are in play and be like, I'm not making a deal. You can't tell me what to do. If you give me that card, I'll put it wherever I want. I will draw 2 cards and give it to someone else. Okay, well then someone else is going to be like, oh, I'll make the deal. Yeah, I'll give it back to you as long as you keep giving back to me. We'll just keep doing that. We keep drawing 2 cards every single one of our turns. They're going to get an absurd amount of advantage, and you're going to lose the game. Finally, again, not having a backup plan, a lesson I've definitely learned over the years and still need to keep learning in some cases as well. But yeah, again, my Villainous Wealth deck, my initial build was just, okay, get it, cast it for a ton of mana into that X. Hopefully, no one stops it. Now, again, make it hardier, make it harder to stop. Have that backup plan. Copy it a ton of times. Make it so it's impossible for your opponents to stop, essentially. Or again, if this gets stopped, okay, cool, I've got 2 other cards that win in different ways as well that still work with my overall strategy of casting massive spells and copying them a certain amount of times. So, take these things that I have learned, and please learn from them as well. These 5 mistakes that you can avoid to win more games. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.